I put all my energy into work, seeking promotion, participating in exchanges and learning, and even learning translation on my own. The teacher asked me if I would be willing to accept a job transfer and become the president of a newspaper in Y City. If it were before, I would definitely refuse. I would love to. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. After completing the procedures for employment and other matters, I drove back home. Under the streetlight, there stood a tall figure. He yelled impatiently into his phone. "I gave you the money, but you are still not satisfied. How dare to threaten me? If you continue to threaten me, I will have someone kill you." This was the real Braden Wilson, violent and lacking manners. He saw me and his gaze immediately softened. "Mina, why are you back so late? Are you tired? Shall I give you a shoulder massage?" I calmly looked at him and restrained myself. "Braden Wilson, don't cross the line. My husband won't be happy." Braden grabbed my wrist and almost begged. "Mina, please don't leave me. I only have you. Can you divorce Darren Wilson?" He had a submissive attitude, trying to please me cautiously. His eyes were bloodshot, but there were love marks on his neck. I remained indifferent and disdainful. A tiger can't change its stripes. "Braden Wilson, you have no credibility left with me." During the month I was in Y City, Darren would call me almost every day. At first, it felt awkward, but later on, I got used to it. Sometimes when he was busy with work, I would take the initiative to send him messages. Life was fulfilling and happy. Later, I received an anonymous message. It was sent by Lara Hall. "Braden has agreed to marry me. We will be a family then. Aunt Mina, please take good care of me." The message was filled with pride, showing off, and a sense of triumph. They were indeed a perfect match. I took a screenshot of the message and forwarded it to Braden. "Wishing my nephew a happy marriage. Aunt Mina will definitely give you a big red envelope then." During the year in Y City, I became the pillar of the entire newspaper company. I frequently went on business trips for learning and my practical abilities improved rapidly. I also gained some reputation in the industry, and the higher-ups in the company valued me a lot. And I didn't want to disappoint myself anymore. I had plans for long-term development in Y City. A week after I submitted my application letter, Darren moved to Y City. I went to the airport to pick him up. He had a tall figure, wearing a dark windbreaker, and his facial features carried a gentle warmth. We walked hand in hand on the way back. I couldn't help but ask him, "Did you give up the job in B City? Did you give up the Wilson Group too?" He smiled and pondered for a moment. Y City is a good place, so I decided to expand the business here. Plain and simple happiness, that's what it felt like. Once, I was chasing after someone unworthy. Now, it's someone worthy chasing after me. My life became even busier. Busy to the point that Darren had to remind me to eat. Busy to the point that I never thought of Braden again. Then, by chance, I returned to B City. At a cocktail party, I met him again. My heart had never been so calm before, without any ripples. Everything from the past was easily forgotten. I ignored him directly, and as I passed by him, Braden grabbed my wrist. "Mina, can we talk again?" After more than a year, he looked much more haggard, with dark circles under his eyes. We found a corner with no one around and sat down. The surrounding lights were dim, and there was a faint smell of alcohol in the air. I picked up the nearby wine glass and took a sip. "When did you start drinking?" I smiled and replied to him, "It's necessary for work." Then, there was a silence, and Braden didn't speak, just staring at me without blinking. "I heard you were with Lara Hall. We broke up a long time ago." His chest heaved violently, tightly clenching his fists. He spoke in an angry tone. "She's just a fraud. She took my money and ran away." Braden looked so desolate, covering his face and crying, his voice trembling. "Mina, I was really wrong. Can you give me another chance?" I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "Braden Wilson, did you have a brain filled with Japan's nuclear wastewater? He looked up at me in disbelief, seemingly not expecting me to say such words. I disdainfully glanced over his face. How could I divorce Darren for you? After all, you deserve everything that has happened. I saw Braden, in a state of panic, leave for the first time. He was like a defeated soldier fleeing from battle. After that, I never saw Braden again. But as a young master of the Wilson family, his actions and behavior would inevitably attract attention. During dinner, Darren mentioned Braden to me with a displeased tone. Before I came to Y City, I gave him a company, but who knew he lost everything in the stock market? Out of anger, he got drunk and broke someone's bones. Then he went to gamble and almost lost everything. After a few days of calm, he went to gamble again, this time in an underground casino. Unfortunately, he got caught in a crackdown and was arrested. I listened quietly, not even raising an eyebrow. After finishing my porridge, I said to him, Braden Wilson is just not a stable person. He was only suppressed by others in the past. He does need guidance and discipline. It's better for him to be in jail now than to make a bigger mistake in the future. After hearing my words, Darren smiled and nodded. You're right, but... He glanced at me and relaxed. When he saw that I remained calm, he continued. We need to look forward because the future lies ahead. I replied, sighed while biting my chopsticks. Was I blind before? How could I have fallen for someone like Braden Wilson? Could it be that I've loved the wrong person? Braden Wilson was imprisoned for almost half a year, and he was released shortly before the Spring Festival. During the 6 months he was in jail, my career flourished, and the relationship between Darren and I grew stronger. The pain that Braden had once caused me was gradually erased by Darren. I saw him again on New Year's Eve during our family reunion dinner. After being released from prison, he never tried to contact me again. For me, this was a great relief. After finishing the meal, Darren was called to the study by his father, and I went to the backyard out of boredom. At the entrance of the flower house, I bumped into Braden Wilson. He looked at me seriously. Are you and Darren Wilson doing well? I glanced at him and replied, of course. He seemed defeated, his eyes filled with sadness as he stared at me. Mina, I was wrong. I was a jerk. Can you forgive me this time? I swear I will change, I swear. Can we start over? I didn't hesitate. I'm married. Even if I weren't married, I wouldn't give you a chance because I find you dirty and I'm afraid of getting sick. My words were icy and straightforward. Braden Wilson looked helpless and his eyes turned red. Mina, are you doing this to get back at me? His words made me laugh. You're overestimating yourself. As I said that, I noticed Darren standing at the end of the corridor, smiling at me tenderly. I turned and walked away, but Braden Wilson quickly grabbed my wrist. I shook him off forcefully and stared at him. Braden Wilson, I don't love you anymore. I regret meeting you first. I left Braden Wilson with a resolute back view. Ignoring the faint sobbing sounds behind me, I never stopped walking. I would never look back. Because my future lies ahead. I have made myself clear, but Braden Wilson is still persistent. He clings to me like a plaster. He either blocks my way after work, sends me bouquet after bouquet of flowers, or bombards me with messages. Although I have never given him any eye contact, rumors still circulate in our circle after a long time. However, Darren never pays attention to them. He trusts me completely. Eventually, Braden Wilson stops harassing me. But his scandalous news keeps coming out one after another. Keeping university students as mistresses, attending parties with female celebrities, having affairs with married women. It has become even worse than before. I couldn't care less about this matter. What does it have to do with me? I am just his sister-in-law, nothing more. Braden Wilson's nature is like this. Unless he experiences a devastating blow, he will never change. When stuck in the mud, one must quickly get out. When encountering a scumbag, one must cut ties completely with no room for compromise. What goes around comes around, everyone must bear the consequences of their mistakes. I heard about Braden Wilson again because his mother found me. Braden Wilson contracted a disease due to his chaotic personal life, and the person who infected him was Lara Hall. Both of them can be considered getting their just desserts. Mina, can you go and see Braden? He's in a very bad condition now, his mother asked. Without hesitation, I shook my head and refused. Let's not bother seeing him. It will only bring unnecessary trouble, I replied firmly. With tears in her eyes, Braden's mother was both angry and resentful. Mina Walsh, did you have to be so ruthless? Even if you two broke up, you are still part of the Wilson family. As an elder, you should at least go and see him. Is your heart made of stone? I remained unmoved in the face of her accusations. Once again, I said, I won't go. That's my last line in the sand, not to add insult to injury to him. Later, I still went to the hospital, but this time I went with Darren. I didn't go into the ward, but stood at the door waiting. In the originally quiet room, a burst of fighting sounds erupted. I was startled and was about to push the door open when Braden's voice of despair came out. Darren Wilson, why do you have to snatch away what belongs to me? Whether it's the Wilson family or Mina, you want to take it all away. Now that I've become like this, it's all because of you, you're the culprit. Since I'm in hell, you should come and join me. I was afraid that Braden would really do something to Darren, and my heart was hanging in the air, my hand holding the doorknob tightening. I could only hear Darren's calm voice. Your life is your own decision, you have become like this because you willingly fell into depravity, you can't blame anyone else. You said I took away the Wilson family, but have you forgotten that my mother is the true mistress of the Wilson family, and your father is just an illegitimate son? As for Mina, are you really the one who rescued her from the fire? Braden suddenly stopped speaking, his face pale as he collapsed on the ground like a living dead, murmuring, So you know all about it. And I, standing outside the door, was already overwhelmed with shock and waves in my heart. On the way back, I felt restless, and Darren worriedly squeezed my palm. Are you feeling unwell? Should we go to the hospital? Tears welled up in my eyes, and I tried to hold back, but eventually couldn't help but cry. Darren became visibly flustered. I threw myself into his arms, smelling his unique fragrance, and sobbed. You are the one who saved me, why didn't you say anything, causing us to be mistaken for so many years? After hearing this, Darren smiled and patted my back to comfort me. But we're married, aren't we? A lifetime is so long, he only had you for 3 years, while I will be with you for the rest of your life. I sobbed and held him tightly. I just felt so happy at this moment. It turns out that after surviving a disaster and achieving what one desires, this is how it feels. Fortunately, heaven showed mercy and I didn't miss him. A few years later, Darren and I had a daughter. She was a lovely little girl, who liked to act cute and had a lively imagination. She liked to pester me to tell her bedtime stories and pester Darren to take her back to the Wilson family to see her grandpa. Because only at the Wilson family could she be an unruly little tyrant. Both Darren and I had irresponsible fathers and unfortunate families. So when it came to our daughter, we only wanted her to grow up carefree and happy. One day, when we came back from the Wilson family, she suddenly took out a little star from her pocket. Did my little baby fold this for mommy? She revealed her little tiger teeth and shook her head. It was given by an uncle, he asked me to give it to mommy. Being young, the little girl didn't understand much, and now her eyes were wet. Mommy, that uncle is really pitiful. My smile froze for a moment. After so many years, I gradually forgot what Braden looked like. The past had already faded away. Thinking of it again, I just felt calm and peaceful. I opened the little star, and inside was a line of words. In recent years, I often think back, regretting my past actions, only wishing for Mina to be happy and carefree.